So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true.
I think that's our cue.
Hey John, how are you?
Howie, good evening.
Good evening. I had to get off the bus for a second because the guy is playing Stairway to Heaven as loud as I can't even hear.
That is awesome. That is so awesome.
It's par for the course. Howard's not home yet. I'm still in transit back from Washington D.C. So part of the podcast will be taking place from a SEPTA bus. I can't promise that this is going to be great, but we're going to give it our best shot.
That is so awesome. I just can't even tell you how awesome that is. Talk about, I think they call that seat of your pants journalism. So I guess
yeah.
This is like seat of the bus journalism or something. That's awesome.
I would definitely much rather be on my sofa at this point. But
I wish you were, because I've seen how hard you worked in the last couple of weeks, actually months, and culminating in the last couple of weeks, all the work, done for the vigil and holding your sign like you normally do, and then going down to DC, and I was happy to see you down there, and I was happy that I could be there.
I was happy to see you. A lot of people have worked hard. Worked very hard to put the vigil together, and I'm not going to lie, a turnout of 30 people, beyond disappointing. I'm not. There's just no other. But I mean, I'm obviously thankful and grateful for every single person that was there. But it really. Yeah.
I did a head count for the cops. I'm pretty sure I got to 38 without journalists.
38? Okay.
Yeah. So, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed in the turnout. But I tell you what, the amount of coverage that we got, and journalists were there. There was probably about half as many journalists and support people with them.
It made it. Oh, absolutely. And to Marie and Melody, who helped make that happen. And there's also a woman on Facebook. Her name's Kara. She runs her page is Justice for Seth Rich, Justice the number 4 Seth Rich. And she, I just was posting on her page, and she took it upon herself to use her connections, people in the group, and she got, she really helped get OA in there. And I can't thank her enough for that.
That was fantastic. And I was talking to that John, tell me his name, Howie, the the reporter.
John Hines.
Yes, but what
Okay,
man? That guy is a bona fide, Washington reporter. He was pretty amazing. I didn't have a lot of time to talk to him, but definitely the real deal. And seeing people like that there with camera crews and Scott Taylor, and that was really impressive. And there's the cuckoo clock. George loves that. I did that on their show too. But I had the cuckoo clock and the cockatiel and the parakeet going off while I finally covered them up, like, halfway through the thing, and I think they were grateful for that. But yeah, so, and that's kind of what I feel like. That's kind of what I feel like.
That's nothing compared to the noise that I'm about to subject you with on this bus, but as soon as it takes off. But
and I'm gonna check, but I'm pretty sure, at least on UCY, a podcast has never been done from a moving bus, and I don't know that even anywhere there's been one. So maybe we'll
making a little history tonight.
Yeah, Guinness Book of World Records, something. After the few months, you deserve it. At least an entry in the Guinness book. But also with those guys that were out there, I mean, seeing Honeybee out there, and Liberty Journalist, right? Is
yes,
yep, and the people that what I'm sorry, I missed her. I'm awful with names anyway, but
Tiffany.
But Tiffany, duh, geez.
Tiffany,
duh.
Yeah, Tiffany. Yeah. Tiffany's my partner in crime. Yeah,
awesome people.
Yeah,
and
I met her. I met her at Comet Ping Pong after March 25th. OurChildrenMatter.net rally, and I went to Comet Ping Pong to hold a sign with someone else, and Tiffany and her friend just showed up a little while later, and it was kind of weird because I was standing there with my person I knew, and she just kind of just stood there, and she had all this camera equipment hooked up, and we just started. I was like, hey, and then we just started talking, and then before you know it, there's like the four of us, and it grew, and she's great. She's a great lady and a very good friend.
Yeah, and I felt bad because I had to, my physical condition and sometimes my mental condition. I get tired and just get wrecked a little bit, and I really had to leave much sooner than I wanted to. I would have loved to hung out with all those people because they were. She said something, and it was really, people say things and. Some stick in your mind, some don't. But what she said was, what? If it's just us 5 or 6 people, then it'll be just that we'll be out here, until until further notice. And I said, that's right.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with that, but when and I've never really asked people to come out for anything, like but this was the one, and with that media coverage, I mean, I still think we had an impact, but we could have had.
I know we did, and I'll tell you one thing: those people at the DNC were impacted by that, and I was too. I mean, I was, because we're obviously not professionals; we don't do this for a living, and I was just kind of bouncing around to make sure that I would be useful in some kind of capacity, and whatever. And when you started the silent part of the vigil, it just stopped me in my tracks. I mean, I heard that, and it was like, whoa. And I turned around, and I'm using an iPhone 5, and which is shaky at best. And I'm like, I've got to get this, at least this part. And, and that was the intent of the whole thing. And you get all those people out there, and, some people, want to do this, and some people want to, they want to talk, and they want, and we're not in control of that. We basically gave the intent of it, which was a silent vigil. And, I mean, what are you going to do? Stop people from, talking, or, you can't do that, or it just can't be done. But at any rate, everybody that was there respected the intent of what we'd come up with and tried to do. And when that got done, and thank God I have the video for that, it went up, and I think it got probably more views than anything else that we did was the silent part of it. And,
well, that was the initial intent. I got held up for a little bit, and I came up from the rear, and people. There was one gentleman, I don't know who he was shouting "Pizzagate" on the bullhorn, and I just walked up and I saw that, and I was like, I was a little taken aback. And I'm like,
give me that.
You are. Yeah. How loud is it right now, by the way? Because I'm on the bus.
If the Led Zeppelin, yeah, and to people that are listening, Butterfly, all the people that we interact with regularly, thank you for your support and what we're doing. And tonight, if we should lose signal, you hear Led Zeppelin crank up, this is cutting edge. So,
can you hear me, John?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how loud it was. It's only because I'm on the bus now. But anyway, I took the bullhorn away from him. So, dude, I'm all about Pizzagate. I've been about Pizzagate for 8 months. So, you want to have a rally about Pizzagate? Let me know. I'll be there. But today's not the day. So when we did, we were able to get it a little, just got it under control, and the silent part, worked out, as well as, I thought it would. And we did it for probably, I thought it was about, 15, 20, maybe 25 minutes.
At least. And that's what, for me anyway, what was so powerful about it, that is the time that it lasted, and just the authority of that. That it can't be messed with. It can't be criticized. It can't be. It's just people there that care about.
Right.
People that get murdered.
Sure.
People.
And of course, our vision was to have a sea of people just standing there, holding signs, and just that for all the organizers, we just thought that would be a really powerful message, and but there's the silence is deafening kind of thing that it really is. So I want to clear. I definitely want to clear something up, because there seems to be. And no disrespect to Matt Couch, he didn't have all the information, but the intent was never to have the vigil at Spirit of Justice Park. Would you confirm that, John?
No, that was a meeting spot.
That was right. That was a meeting spot. We did not want the DNC to know that we were coming. We thought if we had a lot of people, they could somehow, thwart that. I don't know, block off the street, police there. I didn't want any advance notice, so we just kept it in Spirit of Justice Park. So people now, when we were in Spirit of Justice Park for a little while, the Capitol Police did come over and they started hassling us a little bit, but that was already about 4:30, and we were ready to roll. So
I got to talk to them, and truthfully. And who knows what they know, what they don't know. But the sergeant that I spoke with was really understanding. And I think a couple of things, they probably would have just let it roll. But he said 50. And then I read today that it was 80 people got arrested just up the street on Capitol grounds. A much more boisterous, I guess. But the guy also he went on to get a supervisor to try to allow us to stay there, and he actually did do that. And it was his impression that, if we should intend to do this again, that we might even get a permit, which I still highly doubt. But
Right.
the guys that were on scene and that I spoke with were really cool, and supportive. And they when we told them where we were going, they're like, "Oh, by all means," And
Right.
yeah.
So it's not everyone in DC. It's not everyone in DC. We talked about DC corruption before. I've had good experience, and the officers that came over, they weren't hassling us. They were really cordial, but it just the point being that there was things get said online that we were disorganized and never got a permit, so we had to move this thing to the DNC.
Which is incorrect.
Yeah.
And just on the permit issue alone, like I said, this started with an idea. I think it was your idea. There's been a little confusion about that. In my mind, L came up with the silent part, which was genius,
Sure.
as the idea was, and just
Right.
to talk for a minute. I don't want to digress too far, but she's not going to be with us for a while, and I'm not sure how long. I'll miss her. I might have to buy a dictionary.
Right.
But for now and for further notice, she's not going to be with us, and I will miss her. So, but
we press on because there's, when we set out to do this, it's just like a vigil. Whoever's going to show up is going to show up, and tonight, we're showing up, and
that was part, and the corruption is part of what we do. But I think, I can speak for myself, and I'm pretty sure somebody that holds a sign, that's in anti-child trafficking just about every day, that's what we're really about, is ending the child trafficking. Not that one's more important than the other, but I can't think of anything more important than child trafficking and the kids that are being involved in. And we also know that we have to, you can't pick and choose. You have to help fight all types of corruption, because if that's not done, that's what supports the networks. So, but at any rate, I did digress, and I guess there was no other way to do that. But it started with, let's just say, a couple good ideas, and before we know it, it got a lot of traction, and we did talk about getting a permit, and we investigated it, and the waiting period would have been way past the date of the memorial. It would have been well into July. So we went ahead without it. And as far as we even and I guess that's not how they interpret the law. Maybe it's in greater DC, but if you're actually on the Capitol grounds, they consider, I think, anything over 8 or 9 people. Whereas if that was in suburban DC somewhere, we wouldn't have needed a permit. And that was explained to me too, which,
I didn't even know it was Capitol grounds. I saw a park. I said, we'll just meet there and we'll drop down to the DNC. But being at the DNC, and some people said we were politicizing the event, and it was never meant to be politicized. But and I was very careful on during people. I did a few interviews. I didn't want to come out with the crazy conspiracy theories. But let's call a spade a spade. I mean, the DNC had something to do with this, in my opinion, and they don't investigate it. They haven't helped with the investigation. They haven't offered any reward money. Nothing. So they put up a white flag.
And what will, and I think it will eventually be proven, because I think with the mood of the country and everything that's going on, they'll be proved. But it's what they did. You don't have to prove what they didn't do. That's right. That's fact. I mean, there's nobody I haven't seen any representative say one thing about, it's been a year, why is this investigation? Why can't we have, you get a robbery in Houston and you see the video to try to identify the robber. I mean, and you cannot tell me in Washington, D.C., in that area, and apparently we know that there was an ATM camera because that we're finding out that was wiped clean. And this is what was so crazy, that outfit, I guess, through George Washington University, that put out that report that it was professional, not real professionals. They said they were kind of amateur professionals, whatever that means. It definitely wasn't CIA wet work. But these amateur guys, the amateur professionals, not only did they end up shooting somebody and leaving the scene without a trace of evidence, but they also managed to erase an ATM camera in a bank. So that's pretty good for amateurs, or amateur professionals. It made, and none of it makes any sense. I was talking to George Webb about this, and thank those guys for coming down. They ran into transportation problems. They did a show on a bus, but it's not a podcast, so they won't go in the Guinness Book of World Records. They'll go in for that. But they actually did. I was watching it tonight. They were cruising down there on the bus, and they were doing a live stream, but it's not a podcast. So they, I was talking to George Webb about, just the whole case, and nothing adds up. There's not one thing. I mean, no. Protecting where, the spokesman for the family, that great interview that Neil got with Bauman. I mean, oh my God. And he can't say what hospital he was taken to. How could that be a part of an investigation?
Yeah. Anybody doesn't know. It was really funny. I stay with Neil when I go to DC. He's gracious enough to let me stay with him, and he's an amazing host. And he's a very good friend. But I got down Saturday, and I bopped around with Tiffany a little bit in DC. We did some things. Went to the Pegasus Museum, and then we were looking for tunnels. She likes to do that stuff, and then we were going to go. we went back to Neil's house, and I mean, we were outside for a little bit. We walked in, and we weren't in there 10 minutes before Neil decides to drop on me. Oh, I did an interview. Oh, you got to listen to this interview I did with Brad Bauman. And I'm like, what do you mean you did an interview with Brad Bauman?
What?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I called him a month ago, and and he presented himself. He has his website, thelightreports.com, and he said, hi, Brad. This is Neil from thelightreports.com. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Now, normally you would expect, who are you? Click, anything. Well, Brad Bauman proceeded to speak to Neil for about a half an hour, and I think everybody needs to. I believe it's his pinned tweet now, so it's at thelightreports.com, and it's really important stuff. And
I listened to the whole thing, and I'm notorious for listening to the first 5 minutes and then moving on.
Yeah,
but it was riveting, and how this guy
just kept talking.
Yeah, it was like what do they call it? Consciousness of guilt is what they call it. And it's like how criminals confess. That they've got this motivation that they don't even know that they have.
Yeah, any solid question that Neil, not that they weren't all solid questions, but anything like direct, he would say, you would have to, you're going to have to go to the police on that. The police have that information. I'm not at liberty to say da-da-da. But anything that went, delved more into the conspiracy part, was he leaking any information? Absolutely not. 100%. I can say that. I'm like, so anything that was negative, like Brad Bauman knew 100% that was false.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, that was basically the gist of it. But when people listen to it, and I tried to get it to the investigators, but even as a guy that talk about amateurs, I never heard the guy speak. I really didn't know too much about him, and then when I heard him, and I was like, they didn't exactly give the rich family the best spokesperson in my opinion.
No,
That's putting it mildly.
no. And what freaked me out was when he entertained everything, that basically, which is kind of a incomplete narrative that the alternate media have on the crime. So apparently he's been listening to that very closely, and what Neil was telling him is that, well, if it did, if he was mugged, and then he was shot, and and they did steal his life. He just went. I can't paraphrase him exactly, but he, like word for word in very good detail, illustrated what they're calling a conspiracy theory. It's like, well, how do you even know it?
Right.
If your job is just to confirm or deny, what you know or what you know to be false. I mean, he gave this. It was great. If he hadn't said at the end, none of that stuff really happened. You would have believed that it did. He was like, it was just bizarre.
Sure. And one concrete thing he said that Seth was absolutely not a Bernie supporter. And anything that I've seen or heard is that he absolutely was.
That's an outright lie, and I think what he did confirm too, which also makes it just even more regular.
Even more important. Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
It was that he was apparently had surgery and survived that, and then died later. Which is just
well. Neil, I'll spoiler alert. And please listen to this interview. But Neil was pressing Mr. Bauman on which hospital he was taken to, and he would not answer that question. And and Neil, in his way, he was like, how would that hamper the investigation? Why? When you're not telling somebody which hospital he was taken to. What could possibly be? And he's like, you're just, I can't reveal that information, And he, and Neil's a pretty persistent guy, and he stayed with it. And he said, you're going to have to call MedStar for that. And, why don't you just call MedStar? And it's like, oh, okay, well, you're telling me to call MedStar, then.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing was, oh God, did my mind just go blank? I hope not. It was actually, oh God, what did he confirm? It was something that.
Well, I know with the laptop, he said that
wasn't it.
That wasn't it. All right, we can get back to it. Well, people are good. People should listen to people should listen to this interview. And I mean, it goes to show what a citizen journalist, a human, a person with a phone and a little initiative. You can make things happen. Things that I didn't think you'd be able to talk to Brad Bauman, but lo and behold, present yourself the right way. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, no, it was just incredible, and I think that guy's. I hope he watches out because he's a pretty weak link there, and weak links and that chain end up getting snapped off usually, in very unpleasant ways. Which maybe he's just a basically good-hearted person that took the I think that kind of came through in the interview a little bit, that it was like, man, I've got this job, I didn't pick it, and I really want to help you, I really want to help you, but I can't, it was just
right.
Weird,
yeah.
And if he is, and that just reminded me of Seth Rich, because I think Seth Rich was trying to do the right thing, and if that's the case with Bauman, we see what I'm sure that point hasn't been lost on him, that guys that are nice guys and try to do the right thing, unpleasant things happen to them around the Clinton mafia and Wasserman Schultz and just there's only one U.S. attorney and two local attorneys that have turned up mysteriously dead in her district. So, I mean, that's either incredibly bad luck, which I don't believe in, or, that there's, that's evidence. So, We'll see.
I was hoping she was going to show up at the vigil.
Oh my God! I just want to ask her, what happened to your hair?
What happened to it?
What happened to you?
I'm off the bus, by the way.
Are you? So you're getting closer to home.
I'm
every minute.
I'm about a couple blocks away. I'm sure everyone listening is incredibly interested to know.
Not only do you interview the man in the street, you are the man in the street.
That's what I am, the man in the street. Oh, boy.
But yeah, all those people, Honeybee being out there, and Liberty Journalist, and George and Jason, and they felt really shitty, that they got there late. It was like, damn, we missed it. But they did, what they could, and they showed up, and that's the most important thing, just being there. That was, and that'll get through to people. Yeah, I'm disappointed, and I know you're disappointed, and people that is eventually going to get through to people that we're going to have to show up. And like I said, that the actual silent part of the vigil, if that had been 500 people, that building would have fell over, dude. I mean, it was
right.
Powerful.
Sure. Absolutely. And I told you my idea. Instead of we find we need to find solutions. We need to find answers. And one answer I want to find out is like, why didn't people show up? I want to know. Was it just because it was a Monday? Obviously some people are too far away. Was it a financial decision? You just couldn't take off work. You had something else planned. So I'd like to do a Twitter poll. That isn't an option at the moment, but we'll get one together.
Oh yeah, another record you're going for is the time time spent in Twitter jail. That might be a Guinness record too.
Nah.
By the way, they so that account's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, my account's gone.
It's not coming back.
No, it's not coming. No, it was an instant suspension. I was suspended about between 12 and 1 o'clock on Monday, 3 to 4 hours before the vigil. The only thing I did all day was tweet about the vigil.
Obviously, so that's against the guideline.
I may have retweeted one or two other things on my timeline, but as far as an actual tweet went, I was mostly retweeting. I was kind of
Well, another coincidence. I opened up the Traffic report account this morning, and we were locked out. I didn't use it. I hadn't used it I think I did one live stream from it. I don't think I retweeted anything yesterday. I mean, we were at the vigil. We weren't using it. Yeah. And I opened it up this morning. Oh, you locked out. And it did unlock.
This stuff is so blatant. It's so disgustingly blatant. And it's been that way for, this is my 5th suspension. My 5th in 6 months. I think my first one came in. I mean, I know what happened the first. I know why I was suspended the first time. I mean, I kind of know why. There were 2 or 3. I really don't know. And then, of course, they don't have to give you a reason. They can just suspend you. They just don't like you. And what? I'm very careful about. I very rarely even curse on Twitter anymore because. It's not worth it as much as I want to. But, I got to start over and it's frustrating. But if people, hold on for 1 second, you talk for.
I'm going to talk about the weather while Howie avoids a mugger. Hey, Scrunchy. What's up, Scrunchy?
Yeah,
Scrunchy. You got Scrunchy there. George Webb did a personal Scrunchy imitation for my wife, and I'll be forever indebted. I love that. The Scrunchy thing. I hope they make Scrunchy T-shirts because I just love that.
I don't know if you were able to hear that, but
I heard some of it.
Oh, okay. As angry as I was getting, the young lady was a little angrier at her boyfriend. So hey,
Uh-oh.
What happens when you're a man out in the streets? Anything can happen.
Streets of Philly, baby. It ain't easy. It ain't
Absolutely.
easy. Everybody's worried about you. You know, I'm like, you don't understand. He's from Philadelphia.
Well, what could happen in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen walking down the streets of Philadelphia?
Well, without the Antifa, coward pukes, probably, nothing. But
Right.
are the staples out? By the way, they were out.
Yeah,
right?
I gotta do that tomorrow. I gotta get them.
Oh,
check.
jeez.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Got a nice fun day tomorrow, but that's not. We're saying, we're talking about, obviously, what the show is about, and it's child sex abuse and child trafficking and everything. Well, let me go a little further because I want to be able to sit down and, just have my facts straight. But there was another anniversary. It was a 1 year anniversary of the rape and murder of 14-year-old Grace Packer. It happened outside of Philadelphia. It was a rape murder fantasy by her mother, it was adopted mother, and her boyfriend, and they drugged her. He raped her. The mother watched. I have suspicion that it was recorded. I have no evidence of that, but it just seemed like that. And then she was wrapped up in, I don't know how they did it, and left her in a very hot attic. And as though it wasn't bad enough, she didn't die. She didn't die that night, so he had to come back up and strangle her. And that happened. That was 1 year ago. Grace's life was, it was one horror story after another. Her adoptive mother used to be married, and the adoptive father also sexually abused Grace. He went to prison for that back in 2010. He only did about 3 years. They also had 30 other foster children. Not all of them have been able to be located. There was a reporter in Philadelphia who was working that case, and it just so happened to coincide with the Seth Rich thing. But the story's more complicated than just an adoptive mother and her boyfriend in this rape murder fantasy. The entire story goes at the heart of the child protective system. There were signs for years. Even after the father, had sexually abused Grace and gone to prison for it, she was still left in the home of the adoptive mother, which, and subsequently found another pedophile boyfriend until she was actually murdered.
Wow. And if fucking child protective services don't know that anybody that's been with a pedophile is going to find another one,
yes,
that's that's 101. That's basic, beyond basic.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully we can do a full week on that.
Yeah,
that story. I'd love to help you do that.
Yeah, there's a ton of information. I found out about it it was probably back in December. So she's murdered in July, and let's see how time goes. They report her missing. She's a runaway, and she wasn't. Months went by, and I think police started coming around asking questions in October, and the body was actually still up in this attic. And stuffed in kitty litter. So it was up there for quite a few months, and then they chopped up the body and dumped it, and it was found in November. So that's whenever, then they obviously started, figuring the case out. So they were arrested. And, and I never watched the local news, and the story popped up, and it was right when I started getting the pizza game, and I saw that story, and I mean, it just, it was just one of those, of course, one of those coincidences that I don't believe in, and
let you know what you needed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got on the Facebook with that case, and a lot of people were working at it. And like I said, maybe we can take some more time. First of all, I want to honor this child's memory. She had just a horrible life and a horrible death. And sometimes these things, they come out and people get mortified, and then it just goes away. But we'll spend a little more time, particularly with
Absolutely.
her.
Or a lot, as long as it takes. And that just reminds me, every time I hear whatever case it is, I mean, Becky always pops into my mind. And actually right now, I think she's having some health issues that are going on right now. And I just want to let her know if there's anything we can do. We'll do whatever we can.
Yeah, I talked to her today. She's doing a little bit better.
Good. But yeah, and I hear it's like any case I hear now. I was so impressed with and blown away is a better word.
Yeah, but this stuff. I mean, this stuff to me, it doesn't even fall under the category of pedophilia. I mean, rape, murder, fantasy. The fuck is that, dude? That's just one case. I mean, when you start going through these, I mean, the children are getting younger, the stories are getting sicker, and they're becoming more prevalent.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and we probably need to start doing that too. Just like Lori Handrahan's trying to break the habit of us, saying child abuse and call it what it is, child rape. But a majority of these pedophiles, and they do this in Britain and a lot of the communities that are working over there, they call them pedo-sadists, and that's what they are. I mean, there's
no other way around it.
Yeah, sadistic and killing and maiming children, and but yeah, that's probably another. Yeah, but you're right. Pedophilia is horrible enough, but these freaks are. I mean, that's not enough for them. I mean, they have to, heighten their, sickness.
Right.
Take it to another level, and it's just like, Okay, I just always come back to the DNA theory that they've been somehow genetically modified, and they're not of, we don't have the same DNA, because I don't know anybody that I would even think could be capable of that, even that would do that if they were forced to do it. They would rather die, than do something like that to a child. And these people are definitely need to be exposed and removed from society, period. That's all there is to it. There's no therapy. There's no second chances.
But I think it's important. Everyone posts that one bullet, one cure, or something to that effect. And yeah, but I believe that we have to start figuring out what the heck is going on. What is going on inside that head of theirs? I mean, listen, I'll subscribe to the DNA theory. I'll give me something, but let's figure out which two wires are crossing that makes you do these things. Because I mean, obviously, it's just so far beyond. And like I said, when you spend time looking at the stories, which very rarely make, I don't think they ever make the New York Times or the Washington Post. But they're always in a local paper, and which is fine. But we're trying. This has to be brought to the forefront. and I'm looking forward now that the vigil's over. I'm looking forward to get back to my regular job of trying to wake people up, because we're not we're not going to do this one at a time and a couple people here. It's not until people really say, you know what, let's put an end to this, and it's going to take a lot of people to do it, in my opinion. And I'm hoping at some point people are willing to risk a little something to help these children that don't have anybody else to help them.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are the encouraging thing is one of the neat thing about the vigil too, and that those people were all informed. They knew, what child trafficking was about. They understood the link between corruption and that, and they came from we had people from Dallas, from Memphis, from Norfolk, there was a lot of people from different areas. So apparently, that message got out, pretty widely, and I realized, a lot of people just can't travel, like that. But, that tells me that, we have people in probably every area that are capable of caring about it and doing something about it, Sure. And they can start their own, little groups, their own podcasts, their own, and get involved and educate people and let them know about, how they have to be, physically present in large numbers to, affect the level of corruption that we face, in our government. They're not going to, as much as I admired everybody who came out, and we're going to need more. The picture I posted was of Martin Luther King in Washington D.C., and I think there was 1 million people there, and they still had a hard time getting a civil rights bill passed. And they had 1 million freaking people
with a million people.
Yeah,
and that wasn't the first one. There were marches. There were all. It was constant, and it's never ever easy when you're talking about elite pedophilia rings, talking about trying to take this kind of stuff down. It's not going to happen tomorrow, and it's not going to happen with
because we found out, and that's hopefully. Trump's making some headway, but it's the deep state that's the infrastructure for this. Without them, at least the protection wouldn't be there. You wouldn't the DC police wouldn't have got that call back in '87 saying, no, shut your investigation down, because they had them cold, and believe me, that had that been prosecuted, that probably would have brought down the government. The entire government, not Democrats, Republicans. I always go back to Cynthia. She knows. She's done enough work in it. The stuff that George Webb exposed about DynCorp, they know. When that gets aired and prosecuted, and hopefully, there's that little shimmer of light in Australia that number 3 of the Vatican is in for some very tough days coming up. So, and there are some bright.
He's claimed his innocence, though, John. So let's not.
Yeah.
They've been after him.
That's
They've
okay.
been after him.
You can go back. Okay. It's nice that the Pope gave you vacation. To come.
He's innocent.
Yeah.
He's innocent until proven guilty. They've been after him for 20 years or so, but I can safely say that you don't arrest the third in line in the Vatican unless you get some pretty. Evidence.
Yeah. And I think we're talking about more people are involved as victims in that case than we're at our rally, at least, maybe 4 or 5 times that. So, we need to get numbers like that to, issues like Seth Rich's murder and to, pick a corruption. The Pakistani foreign nationals that are basically wiretapping and blackmailing the entire Congress. That would be a good one to have some activism on. And the other great one is apparently I think they're the only government that does it, but the Pakistani government is shipping basically tractor trailers full of God knows what into this country at any time under diplomatic immunity, which is, I mean, that is the craziest thing I have ever heard, that puts everybody at risk. And so, pick pick an issue,
and I have a feeling something else, something else, every 4 or 5 months, I'd say, a big thing happens, and there'll be something else. So we still, we got to keep our eye on the Seth Rich ball. There's a lot of different implications, but there's good people working on it, and there's attention being brought to it. And listen, in the end, in the absolute end, it doesn't matter. If there was a rally, it doesn't matter who's working the case. It matters that it gets solved, and we start putting the pieces together of what is going on. When Trump said that he wants to drain the swamp. When you go to D.C., let me tell you something. You can feel you're in a swamp. Okay,
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up.
Feel, Neil. When I would go down to D.C., I said, man, what's going on? It's like. He calls it dark energy, and I'm all, and I don't feel that a lot of places. But when you go to DC, I'm telling you, I can feel the dark energy.
I'll tell you how I am, and I'm a lot like that too. But I go to cities like that, in older neighborhoods, and I look at the buildings and study the architecture, and I'm impressed with that, and I look at it a lot and appreciate it. All I could think of when I was walking down those streets, looking at those old buildings, and it's like, I wonder what the hell's been going on behind that door, or that door. And dude, it was. I had to stop looking at the buildings. I just walked down the sidewalk because it was. Yeah. Boy, did I feel it.
They said describe it, or you go to DC, walk around, don't do the tourist thing. Just walk on your own, and just be amongst the people, and tell me how you feel, and tell me if you don't feel there's a dark energy.
Yeah. That's it. And I don't scare very easily, but and I don't think I was scared, but creeped out was it was kind of like you're thinking. Am I in a horror movie and something's going to pop out of this
and you never, and you didn't go up. I mean, you didn't go up to Northwest. You didn't go up Chevy Chase. You didn't go in Connecticut Avenue and Comet Ping Pong. I mean, the first time I went to Comet Ping Pong was in November, and just to hold a sign or whatever. And so I mean, I took I remember taking the subway or the red line up to because I think I got off at the wrong stop, so I had to walk a little bit. And I'm walking up Connecticut Avenue, and it was a pretty nice day or whatever. But it just didn't feel right, man. I'm like, man, these people are weird, they weren't just looking at them. I could just, what is going on? And I just, I really felt it. So subsequently, like going back, and it's probably like my fourth time, like going back to DC. I'm a little more used to it. And when you're around the Capitol and the historic areas, there's a lot of tourists and stuff. But when you get into the neighborhoods and you really pay attention, it's a strange place. It's a strange place.
That you mentioned Northwest, that's been a hub for that. All the Henry Vinson and the DC Madam, who's a guy. There's a book, Confessions of a DC Madam, who happened to ran the callboy service. They were in that area, and all the homes and that all this stuff was going on was in that area. And coincidentally, the huge warehouses that they served the search warrants on the Finders investigation, the Treasury Department, same area.
John, do you remember the name? Do you remember the name of that the DC madam who suicided herself?
Deborah. Is it Deborah Palfrey? Does that ring a bell? Let me see.
I don't have it at all. You just said, it just popped into my head, and I remember.
Yeah, there were two. She was like the female,
and she was screaming at the top of her lungs, "I am not going to kill myself."
Yes. Yeah, and of course, you would pick the backyard shed to do that with.
Is that what
hang
happened?
yourself, and it was her dad's house, wasn't it?
I do not remember the particulars. Yeah. I just remember. I believe she went on with Alex Jones.
The brain still works. Deborah Palfrey.
Wow, very, very good.
I pulled that one out of my ass.
Right.
But yeah, it's
even after screaming, I am not suicidal in any way, shape, or form. She still commits suicide.
Yeah. Yeah, and people, I would advise, and next organized activist event that you go to, take a walk around DC, because I think most people would feel that. And if you're having trouble believing, some of the things you're hearing about Pizzagate and all the other stuff that goes on there, take a walk. Just use your own intuition. And I think most people that don't have that mutant DNA will feel it, definitely feel it, and I know I did. I know I was like, wow, I just wanted to get on the subway and get out of there.
Right. Just to we only have a couple minutes left, but to reaffirm that dark energy, for those who didn't see any of the read any of the articles, see any of the video. Our point of being at the DNC at that time was to, make, to be out there while the employees came out and to gauge reactions. And there were a lot of people coming out of that building, smiling, smirking, eye rolling. And, you have an ex-coworker who was murdered, unsolved, and it just seemed like nobody cared.
And another thing that affected me a lot was walking up to the memorial bike rack with that stupid plaque on the wall. Yeah. And if that's not a fuck you, I don't know what that is.
Right.
It's definitely not a fitting memorial to somebody who basically dedicated their lives to free elections.
I think it could have been a warning sign, like if you don't, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you too could have a bike rack named after you.
Yeah. We'll extend this one and get another plaque. Yeah.
We got lots of bike racks here, so
absolutely. And I think that's part of it, but the rest of it is. This is right in your face, and that's what these assholes do. They put it out there in symbology, their little secret symbols, the secret language that you read in Podesta's emails. It's shoved right in your face because they think we are too stupid to figure it out. So apparently we're not, because it's getting figured out. Howie, who loves you? I do.
No, you do. I know you do, John. So have a great trip, all right, man?
All right, and we'll be back on Thursday. I'll be on location with you on Thursday.
All right. I look forward to it, man.
Until next time, my friend. Rest well.
All right. Great night.
Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to UCY